Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just 1, 2, 3.
I think we might want to use the really
Okay,
expensive gaffer's tape.
Totally works for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it should be good.
That's professional courtesy right there.
Okay, so do you want me to read it? It's like 75%.
set. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank Hartford City Councilman Josh Michtam from the Working Families Party for opening up Hartford City Hall to the grieving mourning family of Mr. Everard Walker. I'd like to introduce his mother, Isilda Barton, his partner of 29 years, Linda Gray, his daughter, Nzinga, his other daughter, Menon, his son, Jadane, his brother, Charles, his sister, Sarika, and family friends, Asha and Brianna. I'd like to begin with a short statement from Hartford City Councilman Michtam.
Thank you, Ken. I'm not going to say much because I think this moment is about this family and the tragedy that they're going through, and I want to put them front and center. I wish I just met a lot of them. I wish I would have met them in better circumstances. Obviously, we don't know everything that happened, but I refuse to believe that when a man is surrounded by loving family and that man needs help and the family calls to the city for help, what he gets is 11 armed men. I just refuse to believe that that's the best system we can make. And so, obviously, I want to defer to everything that these folks behind me want. I hope they get what they want. I hope they get justice for this man, who was not an old man. He was in his prime. He was a neighbor. He was a community member. And I hope also my colleagues on council, the mayor down the hall, I hope we take from this that we got to do better for our people. We cannot meet the needs of our neighbors with guns like this. So I thank you all for showing up, and my sincerest hope is that there's some small measure of justice for the folks behind me and for Everard. Thank you.
Everard's partner of 29 years, Linda, has prepared a short statement that she's going to read from.
They killed my husband. They took my world from me. There's no me without him. 29 years came February the 21st. We would have been together. We raised 6 kids together. Oldest is 37, 3 of my own, and 3 of his own. That man came into my life raising my children with me. Steve, could you finish this, please? Show me where you're at. 6 children.
Okay. Right here? Yes. Okay. Okay. God gave me my luckiest and luckiest and luckiest. Everard was a man that was so humble. Every woman would have been so lucky to have him. God knows what he did when he put Everard in my life. We never had to worry about. He worked, he provided for us. This man saved my life. He was my world. That was love. He was faithful. It was a relationship everyone wished they had. Everard and I lost our daughter, Marissa, in October of 2025 to cancer. It broke him. He could not make it to the funeral, but she died. Someone gave him a lace cigarette. He brought him to the hospital to see what was wrong. They put Everett in the hospital and he could not attend her funeral. He cried and he cried. He wished I could have been at the funeral, and he said, I couldn't have been there for you. the white man, and he had me locked up. We prayed. We all did what was read its Bible. God worked. God goes to work. Come home and sleep. He would cook, call his kids, all to come and get some food. And now we don't have that. We just wanted help for him. Someone laced him with a cigarette and he was broken. He never medicate. He needed medication to eat and sleep because of this. He had to run out of medication and we just wanted help for him. We agreed to call paramedic. My mother-in-law wanted us to call paramedics, so we called 211. We wanted an evaluation. We did not call no police. We wanted a doctor. Everett said he did not want to talk to anyone. And they did not listen. They barged into his house or apartment. Everett did not act erratically like he wanted to harm people and himself. He was in the kitchen cooking. They came at his private house or apartment in his sanctuary, in his home, with force. Every Jamaican may carry a ratchet. I would have been shot too if I had been two-step in the door. My son and my daughter were also shot at too. Everard was my world. He was my healer. He cooked for me and bathed me. I didn't have time. I did not have that no more. They took him.
The Walker family wants accountability for the homicide of Everard Walker at the hands of Hartford police. Everard's family made the difficult and responsible decision to call for medical assistance. They called 211. They did not call 911 because they did not trust police to handle this situation. Nor did they think police should be involved in a mental health situation. Mr. Walker was neither a threat to himself nor to the community. He needed help. As you heard, he was in a mental rut. In early autumn, someone gave him a laced cigarette. He was involuntarily hospitalized and missed the death and funeral of his beloved Marissa, who died of a pineoblastoma. Marissa was the stepdaughter he raised. This hurt him more to miss the funeral. He was withdrawn, and from the drug-induced psychosis, he needed medicine to eat and sleep. He had run out and he was not taking his medication. After many family conferences, as a last resort, Mr. Walker's family agreed to ask paramedics for help. His son, Jardane, made the difficult call with help from a family friend. Mr. Jardane Walker's act of calling police or calling 211 is an act that he will live with. He will regret and feel guilt with over forever. It wasn't his fault. The Walker family knew this situation needed compassion and care. This was not a crisis. Jardane called 211 because he didn't want anyone with guns coming near his father. Jardane repeatedly told 211 his father was not in a crisis, that his father was neither a danger to himself nor others. Everard needed health care, not state violence. Everard's mother, Isilda, and Linda Gray hoped that when the family called for paramedics, they would find relief. The state of Connecticut spent $5 million on the Heart Mental Health Crisis Response Team in Hartford and other improvements to 211 to prevent this exact thing from happening. The Hartford police escalated a minor mental health call into a fatal encounter that they ended in a barrage of bullets. We cannot pretend there is some mystery about how another homicide by a police officer of a black man happened. We are here to say no more. A system that responds like this to a family's call for medical intervention reveals its deep flaws. This system failed the officers involved too. This was an incorrect response born of insufficient training and a focus on shoot first and ask questions later. When the only tool you have is a gun, everything is a target. There was no taser. There was no use of non-lethal force. There was no discussion of non-lethal force. The Walkers have said the name of Tamir Rice before. They've said the name of Philando Castile. They've said the name of Michael Brown, of Eric Garner, and Nzinga Walker, when police were holding her on the ground before they shot her father in front of her, told police, "I can't breathe." Where have we heard those words before? The Walker family has said the name of George Floyd, of Breonna Taylor, and now we add Everard Walker's name to that terrible list. The Walkers knew they did not want police because history shows how police deal with black Americans in mental health crisis. And this wasn't even a crisis. 2 officers on backup duty helping a mental health 211 call devolved into a full-scale paramilitary invasions of Everett's tiny apartment on Capitol Ave. There was no warrant, there was no threat, there was no need for this response. The fact that the Hartford Police Department has not publicly stated that any of the officers who escalated this mental health call to what the family feels is murder, that none of these officers have been placed on administrative leave or desk duty, demonstrates that we cannot trust the police to police themselves. The Walker family is hesitant to rely on the Office of the Inspector General. The initial report has published only the most inflammatory images from that incident. Mr. Walker was defending his home against an unwarranted invasion by 11 officers with a 4-inch ratchet, a Jamaican pocket knife that every Jamaican man carries. The OIG, we hope, is not tipping its hand towards exoneration to officers when it does this. The OIG's initial report is troubling as well because it focuses on the last 20 seconds of an interaction that lasted more than an hour. The OIG's initial report did not refer to Nzinga's pleas for the police to leave the scene. Jardine asked police to leave. Upon this refusal, police should have left. They never should have been there at all because this was not a criminal interaction. There was nothing criminal about this situation. As Nzinga watched more police officers arrive and walk up the stairs to her father's apartment, she warned them that this will not turn out well. Why did police ignore her? Why did they deny the family's pleas to go away? We are here again to say no more. We are also here to invite the city of Hartford to reach out to us within the next 30 days to discuss resolution of this situation. If not, BBB attorneys and myself will file suit as soon as possible, focusing on claims under the Police Accountability Act. There is no excuse for a mental health call that ends in this kind of violence. I have litigated enough against police to know what the city of Hartford is going to do when I file a claim. The city will hire lawyers to defend the officers, and we will spend the next 6 years litigating the question of whether or not this was an appropriate response. The fact that the city will drag this out is in and of itself additional ongoing injury to the family. How long will they make the family suffer through this intergenerational trauma that will reverberate across our community for decades? How much will the city make this family suffer additionally? How much should this family have to bear? How much will this litigation strain the bonds of this family? This shooting is already straining the bonds of this family. When we finally get to the jury, we will ask them to decide how much the life of this beloved father is worth. But we all know that there is no amount of money that can make this family whole. There is no amount of money that will bring Everard back. There is no amount of money that will give Jardine peace at night. He saw his father murdered. There is no amount of money that will give Nzinga and Linda peace at night. They watched this shooting happen. This homicide was unnecessary and preventable. This case is about healing a community. This case is about building a new future where public health does not mandate an arsenal. We want to build a new community where those in pain and anguish and pleading for help with their mental health do not end up in the office of the chief medical examiner being dissected to measure bullet wounds of entry angles. I'll take any questions.
For any member of the family, was there sort of a moment in this situation where you realized things were going wrong?
I'm going to be the one answering questions. I'm sorry. I don't want to put...
Was there a moment in this situation where the family realized things were going wrong?
Very early on in my conversations with Jardine and Nzinga, and they understood very early on that when police even showed up, that there was terrible, it portended terrible things. That's why Nzinga begged police to leave. Jardine begged police to leave. And they didn't.
I seem to remember Miss Linda saying that other people in the apartment were shot at. Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, they were, Jardine was very close. Jardine was almost holding his father at one point, and Nzinga was on the ground. Jardine has told me that he could feel the recoil from the bullet. So this was not only an unnecessary use of force, but it endangered other people.
And under the Police Accountability Act, what segments are we going to file suit based on?
Well, the Police Accountability Act contains a clause that opens up the Connecticut Constitution to private rights of action. Because federal litigation is so hamstrung by qualified immunity and the invented doctrine by the United States Supreme Court that qualified immunity protects all officers only in cases where a reasonable officer would not act this way. It's an impossible standard. So what Senator Winfield and the members of the Judiciary Committee and the entire Connecticut General Assembly and Governor Lamont did during the pandemic year of 2020 is open up the Connecticut Constitution to private causes of action with a lesser definition of qualified immunity so that we have a better chance of exonerating Everard Walker and vindicating his civil rights under the Connecticut Constitution. Everybody knows Connecticut is the Constitution state because we had a Constitution before the United States of America did, and their Constitution is modeled off of ours. And Connecticut has a very strong rights against unreasonable search and seizure, and what the Police Accountability Act did was open up equal protection clauses under the Connecticut Constitution and potentially, unlawful entry. I think the Fourth Amendment question is going to be one that's litigated in this case.
All the public has seen until now is what the Inspector General has released in terms of that press release and some of the body cam footage. When you were reviewing that, what did you see?
I saw a tragedy unfold that was preventable. I saw 11 police officers go into a man's house when they had asked the police to leave. This was not a criminal situation. Why were there 11 police officers in that tiny apartment? You see one of the police officers fall backwards, and you have to ask yourself, how did the police get themselves into a situation where the officer is falling backwards? How does it, you watch the officers rush in, and you're like, why do we need this for a man who presented no threat? The 211 calls repeatedly said there was no threat. So when I watched that video, I saw a repeated failure over the course of an entire hour that this interaction devolved. That was an invasion of his home. There was no warrant. And if you read the OIG's report, he says, well, police entered and then left. Wait, why did they enter a first time? How is Mr. Walker going to feel after after police enter a first time? And then they come back with even more force a second time? What was the purpose of this? Who was in charge? Who was making these decisions? And they're ludicrous. We complain about what happened in Minnesota with ICE. What's the difference here? This was a man's home and sanctuary. He wasn't in the street. He needed mental health help. He did not need 11 cops armed to the teeth. There was no non-lethal use of force. There were no beanbags. I had a case in West Hartford where a man was in a mental health distress in his house in West Hartford, barricaded into his bedroom. And what did West Hartford police use? Beanbag guns. Why were there no beanbag guns here if we knew this was a mental health call? How come West Hartford police can get it right? And I'm not even saying that they got it right, but at least they didn't kill that client.
How long was this whole interaction, and were there any social workers or mental health professionals, paramedics, and how did that play into this?
There were 2 social workers there, and my understanding is that one of them was helpful and one of them was not. And it seems to me at some point that the police, apparently 211 called, when they dispatched the social workers, 211 also dispatched police officers. And when they called for the police to come, police somehow took over the command of the scene and did not allow the social workers to work whatever magic that they could. And my understanding, and I could be wrong on this, and we're still developing this, but my understanding is that when the HART team comes and the person says, go away, the HART team has to leave. So why didn't these social workers leave when Mr. Walker says, no, I don't want your help? Instead, they persisted and they persisted and they persisted, and they have assured that Mr. Walker will never get his medication.
What was the medication for, and what was the underlying mental health?
Well, he needed the medication to eat and sleep. As I said, he had some issues. We don't want to get into those right now. We don't think it's appropriate at this moment. Thank you for asking.
And for the gentleman who helped to read the statement, could you say and spell your name, please?
Go ahead.
Charles Walker, CHARLES WALKER.
Thank you, Charles. This is Mr. Everard Walker's older brother.
How would justice look like for the family?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How would justice look like for the family?
That's a great question. What does justice look like in this situation? Does justice look like police officers being sent to jail? Does justice look like the chief of police having to resign? Does justice look like more training for the police? Does justice look like remuneration to the family for the nightmares that they're going to suffer for the rest of their lives because they watched their innocent father get gunned down by police? Does justice look like police cars being white instead of black so that they're not hiding among us? Does justice, this is a question that we all as a community have to answer. How do we as a democratic republic want to help this family that our government broke?
And what are you seeking to hear from Hartford in this 30-day period before you file?
We should have them reach out to us. Mayor Aaron Lampalon knows where I am. They should reach out to us. They're the ones that hurt this family. What do I have to do? It's astonishing to me that HPD has not announced that they're putting these officers on desk duty pending an investigation. It's astonishing.
So does that mean you haven't heard from HPD at all or talked to them at all?
Nope. I did text with Mayor Aaron Lampalon on Friday night because Jardine was taken into protective custody on Thursday morning after this. While this entire encounter happened, and as Ja was trying to protect his father and hold his father back, police officers tackled him, beat his legs, so much so that he couldn't walk. They dragged him down the stairs out of the apartment, into the neighborhood in Capitol Ave. And at that point, Jardine had the presence of mind to say, hey, I have a pistol permit and there's a Glock in my pocket. And then the officers disarmed him. He was not a threat. Mr. Jardine was just there to help his father. And they brought him to the Institute of Living and tried to have him involuntarily committed. We could not reach him because his cell phone was seized. And so I reached out to Mayor Aaron Lampolan on Friday night to say, hey, is he still in protective custody? Because DOC doesn't have him, and Hartford Hospital won't tell us if he's there. And Mayor Aaron Lampolan confirmed for me by text that he was no longer in protective custody. But it was difficult to reach Ja because the OIG and state police seized his cell phone. They seized Nzinga's cell phone. And as anybody can attest, let's try and go 5 days in modern America without your cell phone. So the traumas that this has inflicted upon the family have not just been emotional. How are you supposed to get to work and communicate with your job? Who knows anybody's phone number here? I know 3 phone numbers, 4 phone numbers maybe. Nobody knows anybody's phone number anymore. So how are they supposed to communicate with anybody? Because their cell phones were seized by warrant. They got a warrant eventually, but like the entire process has been a nightmare for this family.
And how many people were in the apartment when this unfolded?
I don't know how to count the cops, but Ja and Nzinga was right at the door and Linda was right at the door. And also Nzinga had her iPad and she was FaceTiming with Asha and Brianna. So they were witnesses. This is just, the more I talk about this, I hope everybody listening understands how absolutely insane this was.
And how long was the interaction?
It was about an hour. I mean, we don't have precise times, but it's a reasonable estimate. Any more questions?
Would you mind if any other member of the family would like to say anything about?
We're not, we've done what we can. I would ask everybody to respect the family as they grieve. This is an extraordinarily difficult time. None of us want to be in their shoes. Frankly, I don't want to be their lawyer. But here we are. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to represent them in this moment. And I hope that I can do them proud and that I can do Everard's memory proud.
Would you mind just giving the name spellings of the family members?
Everard, E-V-E-R-A-R-D. Linda, L-I-N-D-A, Gray, G-R-A-Y. Isilda is I-C-I-L-D-A. Correct? Got it. And her last name is Barton, B-A-R-T-O-N. Nzinga is N-Z-I-N-G-A. Jadane, J-A-H-D-A-N-E. Menon is M-E-N-E-N. Sarika, S-E-R-I-K-A. And then Brianna and Asha, A-S-H-A? A-H-S-H-A and Brianna, B-R-I-O-N-N-A? B-R-Y-O-N-N-A. Thank you. Attorney Michtam would like to say one more word.
Counsel.
Sorry. He's also an attorney of excellent
Ask
repute.
questions of my council colleagues. Ask questions of the mayor about how we keep this from happening again. Because this is not a surprise. We know this is a problem. We know our systems aren't adequate. And it keeps happening. So don't stop here. Find the folks who sit in those offices when they're not at their day jobs. Find the man who sits in that office down there and ask them what the plan is.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate your effort. And please, I would ask you not to ask any questions of the family at this moment. Thank you.
Can we get your name and spelling?
My name is Ken, and my last name is Krajewski, K-R-A-Y-E-S-K-E. And I work at BBB Attorneys. Thank you.
Nzinga and Jadane, their last names Walker.
Yes. Of course, I know. Pick a card, any card. None of them are. None of them are. I don't have them.
Okay.
I'm so bad at business.
No, it's okay. Just spell your name for me.
K-R-A-Y-E-S-K-E.